Bhagavad. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So I wanted to seek the blessings of Radha Madhava, Radha Shyamsundar, Krishna, Balaram, Bal Gopal, the Singadev, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, Gaunitai. Tulsimani, Srila Haridasa, Guru Parampara, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and the assembled devotees. So we wanted to continue with the second chapter. Second canto, sorry, and starting with chapter 5, which is entitled The Cause of All Causes. So this is where Parikshit Maharaj asks Sukadev Goswami about the creation, and Sukadev Goswami then refers to a conversation between Narad Muni and Lord Brahma. So Narad Muni is actually...
Prabhuji, we
Yes.
cannot see the screen.
Ah, okay, 1 second.
Thank you.
How about now?
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you. Thank you for telling me. Very good. So Narad Muni in this context is the disciple or son of Lord Brahma, and he learned a lot of his knowledge through Lord Brahma. He asks Lord Brahma about the transcendental knowledge, this material world, its background, creation, conservation, as well as Brahma's factual position. So he wanted to understand, who are you? And how come you're so knowledgeable? Could there be possibly anyone greater than you? Because your powers are so great. So Brahma answers. Lord Brahma confirms that Narayan is the actual creator. And Lord Brahma himself, inspired by the Lord, only discovers what is already created. So we have the Trimurti, which is Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. So some feel that those three are all supreme. But actually, here, Lord Brahma confirms that Narayan is the actual creator, is the actual supreme Lord. And he, Brahma, is given the power to create by Lord Narayan. It's already created. This material world is already created in one sense. Lord Brahma is placed in order to put everything together, the ingredients together. So Narayan in the form of Mahavishnu, when he breathes out, all the universes come out of the pores of his skin. So he is the original creator. And the secondary creator is known as Lord Brahma. The Lord's illusory energy always remains behind the Lord to bewilder less intelligent men into thinking that Lord Brahma is the creator, So we shouldn't think he is the creator. He's a secondary creator, yes. But the primary creator is actually Lord Narayan. Okay. Unless and until one is aware of the personality of Godhead, who is the ultimate truth beyond Brahma, one is sure to be illusioned by observing Brahma's powerful activity. So he is extremely powerful, but he's given that power by the Lord. All knowledge, yoga, sacrifices are meant for achieving the Lord and for pleasing him. Although he is beyond the perception of our eyes and ears, he controls everyone, including Brahma. Inspired by him only, Brahma discovered what is already created by him, Narayan. The Supreme Lord is pure, spiritual form. Yet, for the sake of the creation of this world and its maintenance and annihilation, he accepts, through his external energy, the mode of material nature called goodness, passion, and ignorance. Brahma then proceeds to tell Narad how the Lord's creation, Sarga, is affected from subtle to gross elements and how it is animated. After the incarnation of the first Purush, that is Karanadakshay Vishnu, so he's also referred to as an incarnation, the Mahatattva, or the principles of material creation, take place, and then time is manifested. And in course of time, the three qualities appear. Tamagun, Rajagun, Satagun. Material activities are caused by Mahatattva being agitated. So this Mahatattva comes from Lord Narayan or Lord Vishnu, Karandaksha Vishnu. When the Lord wants to create the material world, Sankarasana expands his Karandaksha Vishnu, Mahavishnu. From his perspiration springs forth the vast expansion of water known as casual ocean or Karana ocean. This Karana is known as the Viraja river and is the border between the spiritual and material worlds. Mahavishnu lies on this ocean, which is spiritual, in Yoga Nidra, transcendental slumber, with Ramadevi, eternal consort. As he breathes out from the pores of his body, countless universes which float on the casual ocean emanate. When he breathes in, the universes go back into his body. So this is the initial, the primary creation. There he is. Kanadaksha is lying, chilling out. In his body resides trillions of jivas. So when he's breathing in, all the universes go back in, all the jivas lie dormant for a long period. So trillions of jivas in his body, who are in material world previously, with unlimited desires. Mahavishnu desired Icha Shakti, to liberate these souls or allow them to continue with their trying to fulfill their desires. He glances towards Ramadevi, whose shadow becomes Maya. That is Durga Mata. There you go. There's Lord Vishnu, Karandaksha Vishnu, glances over Ramadevi, whose shadow becomes Durga Mata, Maya Devi. Prakati, material nature, is eternal. When non-manifested in a subtle form, it is known as pradhan, raw unassembled material substance. The basic elements for creation are this pradhan, and by his grace, the Kala Shakti time starts, Jiva is transferred with their karma. When Prakriti manifests, it turns into Mahatattva, that comes from Vishnu. And thus all material elements become manifest. By the glance of Mahavishnu, the jivas come out of his body, and Ramadevi carries the function of the glance, which is Durga Maya. So the jivas are transferred in that way. Ramadevi's glance is effulgent and creates a halo, aura, which is the form of Shambhu. This is Shiva. Ramadevi hands over the jivas and Kala Shakti to Shambhu. At this point, he is still Vishnu Tattva. This is Shiva, he's still Vishnu Tattva. He's not quite in touch directly with the material world. There's Shambhu there. So, after the universes lay on the casual ocean for countless ages, the Lord enters them as the second Vishnu, whose name is Garbhadaksha Vishnu, and he assumes the Virat Rup, the universal form of the Lord. Brahma concludes his explanation by describing the Virat Rup. He tells where the full Varnas are situated on his body. So the Brahmanas, they represent the mouth, Kshatriyas, the arms, Vaishya, his thighs, Shudras are born from the legs. And he also tells them the location of the 14 planetary systems. So that's quite an intense chapter describing the Lord's creative process. Purusha Shukta is confirmed. So what is the opulence of the universal form? Brahma gives a detailed description of the opulence of the Vishwarup as the source of everyone and everything we see here and experience in this creation. This is the universal form of the Lord. It extends throughout the universe. The Lord's universal form, and that's why this universal form is only manifested in this world, not in the spiritual world. It's only in this world because it consists of this world, basically.
Prabhuji,
Yes, Naiman.
I'm a bit lost with this Vishwarup and Garbhodakshai Vishnu. When did Vishwarup
Ah,
come? Does he
yes,
come
yes, yes.
before?
No, he is one and the same. It's one and the same. So Garbhodaksha Vishnu manifests as Vishwarup or the universal form.
Okay.
Yeah. One and the same. One and the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, one and the same. So the Lord gives freedom from fear, fulfillment of all desires, material pleasure, as well as death. His front is religion, his back is irreligion. Beginning from Brahma down to Narad and Bhava, that's other word name for Shiva. All the great sages who were born before the demigods, the daemons, the nagas, the human beings, the birds, etc., are all covered by the universal form of the Lord at all times, namely past, present, and future. Although he is transcendental to all of them, externally existing in a form not exceeding 9 inches, all is within him, yet he appears as super soul, 9 inches tall. So this is another form of Vishnu, the third form, Shirodakshaya Vishnu, who expands himself into every living being. So with us in this body, there are two souls. We are there. And the super soul, Paramatma, is there as well. Both are there. So the Paramatma is a incarnation of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, the Vishnu who manifests the universal form. The Vishwarup is an expansion of the super soul. Oh, interesting. That's that comment there. Vishwarup is an expansion of the super soul, which maintains the whole creation. So the two Vishnus, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, who comes into each universe, manifests this super soul. And then what this is saying is that actually the super soul is is the universal form. I always thought it was the other way around, that Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is the one who is manifesting the universal form. I mean, they both can be true because the Lord can do anything with any part of himself. So the super soul remains aloof, just like the sun remains separate from its rays, which expands all over the universe. The spiritual world, which consists of three-fourths of the Lord's energy, is situated beyond this material world. Three-fourths, yeah, three-quarters. And it is specially meant for those who will never be reborn. Others who are attached to family life, who do not strictly follow celibacy vows, must live within these three material worlds. Mm. So then he describes about himself. Brahma was born from the abdominal lotus flower of Lord Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. That's the Lord who expands into every universe. Brahma has no ingredients for sacrificial performances except the bodily limbs of the great personality of Godhead. Thus, Brahma created the ingredients and paraphernalia for offering sacrifice out of the parts of the body of the Supreme Personality, Supreme Lord, the enjoyer of all the sacrifices. And he and his sons, and thereafter the Manus, the sages, perform the sacrifice to satisfy the Lord. This is quite hard to understand because we can't even imagine what that process looks like. Lord Brahma then says that because he has caught hold of the lotus feet of Lord Supreme Lord Hari with great zeal, his words have never proven false, nor his mind hindered in its progress, nor his senses degraded. Brahma explains that the Lord cannot be understood even by him, and thus recommends surrender to the Lord's lotus feet. So what can others do when the Lord himself is unable to estimate his own limits? And even this applies to Lord Krishna. One time he was looking at his reflection in Dwarka and he was thinking, wow, who is this amazing personality? So he is always expanding in his qualities. Qualities are unlimited, but they're always increasing. Similarly, always increasing. Similarly, Anantashesh has 1,000 mouths. This is Lord Balaram, expanded as Anantashesh, the snake. And since time immemorial, Anantashesh has been describing the Lord's qualities, and still he cannot find an end to those qualities. Why? Because they're always expanding. Mhm. That supreme original personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, expanded as his plenary portion as Mahavishnu. That's Karanadaksha Vishnu, the first Vishnu, creates this manifested cosmos, but he is unborn. The creation, however, takes place in him, and the material substances are all himself. He maintains them for some time, absorbs them into himself again. Everything within this universe is nothing but a fragment of his energy. Yet he is beyond all and ever uncontaminated. So then Lord Brahma explains the Leela avatars. So this is quite an intense chapter, very intense chapter to understand. So the incarnations, scheduled incarnations with specific functions. Brahma describes in brief the Leela avatars, beginning with Varaha, Kapil, Dattatreya, four Kumaras, Narayan Rishi, Rishabdev, Hayagriva, Matsya, Kurma, Singh, Vaman, Hamsavatar, Prithu, Dhanvantari, Pashuram. Brahma also describes Dhruv, King Kavena, Gajendra. Their primary purpose are given by Sukadeva Goswami. Lord Ram's pastimes are described, how he left for the forest with Sita, how he lamented for the loss of Sita, how he burnt the aquatics with his glance, and how he finally killed Ravan. Lord Krishna is also explained, described. Lord comes in his original form with beautiful black hair. And just to expand his transcendental glories, he acts extraordinarily. No one can properly estimate how great he is. Lord Krishna appeared on the earth to diminish the burden of demons such as Putana. He chastised the Kaliya serpent, saved the Brijbasis from a forest fire, showed his mother the universe within his mouth, and rescued his father from Varun. He lifted Govardhan hill and enjoyed the Ras dance with gopis. There is no doubt about Lord Krishna being the Supreme Lord. Who can perform such Herculean tasks but the Supreme Lord? So Lord Brahma is giving a little hint about Lord Krishna's greatness. In Kali Yuga, the Lord appears as Vyasadeva to deliver the Vedas to the people, as Buddha to give good moral instruction, and finally as Kalki to kill all the sinners. Then he describes the Gunavatars. Gunavatars are Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Neither Brahma nor all the sages born before Narad know fully the Supreme Personality of God. So what can others who are born after him know about him? Even the first incarnation of the Lord, namely Lord Shesha, this is Anantashesh, has not been able to reach the limit of such knowledge, although he is describing the qualities of the Lord with 1,000 mouths. But anyone who is specifically favored by the Supreme Lord due to unalloyed surrender unto the service of the Lord can overcome the insurmountable ocean of illusion and can understand the Lord. But those who are attached to this body, which is meant to be eaten at the end by dogs and jackals, cannot do so. So we have to somehow stop being so attached to everything that is within our purview in our life. Otherwise, that attachment will just keep us occupied in this world and not give us the opportunity to explore the greatness of the Lord. Lord Brahma states, "O Narad, this science of God, Srimad Bhagavatam, was spoken by me, spoken to me in summary by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it was spoken as the accumulation of his diverse potencies. Please expand this science yourself. Please describe the science of Godhead with determination and in a manner by which it will be quite possible for the human being to develop transcendental devotional service unto the Personality of Godhead, Lord Hari." So very interesting chapter, because Gunavatars are described. So chapter, yeah. So just tracking the conversation, right? First, we had the sages in Naimisharya. They questioned Sutta Goswami. They asked the 6 questions, right, which was answered quite quickly in the first 2-3 chapters. Then there was a conversation within that between Vyasadeva and Narad Muni, because Vyasadeva was dejected. He wanted to know what to do because he'd written all the Vedas, but yet he was not happy. Then there's a conversation between Shaunaka and Sutta Goswami. Then second canto starts with Sukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. Then it reverts back again to Shonak and Sutta Goswami. And then Sukadev Goswami talks with a question, as we saw in the beginning of this canto, question from, chapter 5, beginning of chapter 5, question by Parikshit Maharaj about the creation process. So then there's a discussion between Lord about that creation process between Lord Brahma and Narad, and that is what is described by Sukadev Goswami. And now back again to Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadev Goswami. Questions by Parikshit Maharaj. Maharaj Parikshit praises Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a sound incarnation of Lord Krishna, and when heard regularly enters into the hearts of the devotees, sits on the lotus flower of his loving relationship with God, and thus cleanses the dust of material association such as lust, anger, and hankering. Thus it acts like autumnal rains upon the pools of muddy water. The devotee takes shelter of the Lord's lotus feet like a traveler who has finally come home. So he's got more questions. He requests Sukadeva Goswami to continue explaining the glories of the Lord, his creation, and his devotees. So what are these questions? Okay. How does a spirit soul acquire this material body? What are the differences between the Lord's body and ours? They look similar. How the Lord lies in everyone as a super soul? Was Brahma able to see the form of the Lord? How is the Lord untouched by external energy? This is a very interesting question. How is the Lord untouched by material external energy? Because he's the source of it. So how come he's not touched by it? What is the actual position of the planetary systems? Explain the various durations and measurements of time in different planets. Explain the cause of different durations of time. Explain the different karmic reactions to actions. How does the creation take place? You could say he's already asked that question and Sukadeva has already answered the question, but actually he wanted more detail. How does Brahma do the secondary creation? What are the character and activities of the great souls? What are the characteristics of the different classification of the castes and orders of social life? And explain all the different ages in the duration of the creation. And then that he wants to know the different activities of the different incarnations of the Lord in the different ages. Oh, there's more. Wow. He wants to know about the process of devotional service and the methods of mystic power. Explain the common religious affiliations of human society and their specific occupational duties in religion. He wants the classifications of the social orders as well as the administrative royal orders. He wants to know the religious principles for one who may be in distress. What are the opulences of great mystics and what is their ultimate realization? How do the perfect mystics become detached from subtle astral body? What is the basic knowledge of the Vedic literatures, including the history and the Puranas? How the living beings are generated, maintained, and annihilated? What are the advantages and disadvantages of discharging devotional service unto the Lord? Interesting, he's asking about the disadvantages. What are the Vedic rituals and injunctions of the supplementary Vedic rites? What are the procedures of religion, economic development, and sense gratification? Explain how merged in the body of the Lord, living entities are created. How the infidels appear in the world. Explain how the unconditioned living entities exist. Wow, it's a lot of questions. A lot of questions. The king said, O great sage, the representative of the Lord, kindly satisfy my inquisitiveness in all that I have inquired from you, and all that I may not have inquired from you from the very beginning of my questioning. Since I am a soul surrendered unto you, please impart full knowledge in this connection. Assuring Sukadeva Goswami that he feels no distress from fasting, Maharaj Parikshit explains how he is thriving by drinking the nectar of Krishna Katha. Highly pleased by such a request, Sukadeva Goswami prepares to answer Parikshit Maharaj's questions. Wow. That's a lot of questions. And the rest of the Bhagavatam deals with answering those questions. Any questions? Anybody, anything like to share? There's a lot we've gone through.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hope you are well.
Yeah, thank you.
Miss yesterday's program, but
Yeah.
doesn't matter. The question you went just now, all of them.
Yeah.
Are we going to describe them? Yes or
Yes,
no?
it goes through the Bhagavatam. Yes, these questions are answered in the Bhagavatam as we go
So are we going to do them?
through the Bhagavatam. Yes, through going through the chapters. Yes, you will see the answers to these questions.
All right, how the spirit soul acquires the material.
Correct.
Difference between the Lord's body and our, as they look.
Right.
Yeah, it is true. We look similar.
Yeah.
But what's the difference? How the Lord lies in everyone, super soul. So this will be really good, you know.
Yeah. Slowly they get all answered.
Yeah.
But
and and one thing was you said it's difficult to understand, and I thought so, the same thing. When you said Brahma was born from lotus, is it lotus feet or
lotus flower?
Lotus flower, yeah.
Yeah.
But then you said he sacrificed all his parts of body.
Yeah, that was actually the Supreme Lord. He used the Supreme Lord's body to make, to create this world. It's a little hard to understand. That's quite tough to understand for us.
Yeah, that's all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Because I was thinking that when you said the body was all sacrificed, all the parts of your body was sacrificed, and I was thinking when he said sacrifice must be like burn them or cut them
No,
up.
no, no. They used, I think he's used the Lord's body. There you go. Brahma had no ingredients for sacrificial performance except the bodily limbs of the great personality of Godhead. Thus, Brahma created the ingredients and paraphernalia for offering sacrifice out of the parts of the body of the Supreme Lord.
Is that the one? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Is that
that's
the
the one.
one?
That's the one.
Is that the one? Sorry. That he said, okay, kill myself and
No, no.
make
He,
the
he didn't say that.
trisul out of it.
Oh, I
Thumbs.
see. That's something else. No, no, no.
No.
That's something else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. So if there's
Uh,
nothing else, we can stop. Anybody else? Any questions?
I
Okay.
think, Prabhuji,
Ah,
some
yes,
of these things are over our imagination. We can't think like that.
way over.
Therefore, we
Way
can't
over.
think how Brahma created ingredients of when on Lord was there. So we don't know. We just can't understand. But we have to just believe in what the Bhagavatam is telling you
Correct,
and take it from there, because I don't think we've got any answers.
It goes into some detail, but even then, it's very hard for our level of intelligence to really understand this. Very, very hard. And the beauty is, we don't necessarily have to understand it because, we are trying to establish a relationship with the Supreme Lord through the chanting of the holy names. It's good to know, but it's not necessarily that we have to understand it and fully, have knowledge of it. That's the advantage. To pass the examination, we don't necessarily need to have the full knowledge of this. So,
I don't know who would have such answers to such questions then.
um,
Well, how created, how different ingredients were created
oh,
for the
that we'll see. We'll see that
that
in
we'll see.
Bhagavatam.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
That will come through that. Yeah.
Okay. And the questions that were asked by Parikshit Maharaj, these are the ones that are answered at random or throughout the Bhagavatam.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
I'm sure there are more questions as well.
Then there are more because then he refers to conversation between Maitri and Vidur, and then there's more questions between those two, or between Vidur and Maitri. So it does get a little mixed up, quite a bit mixed up. But
So
it's
does it
the
mean that
answers.
these are the only questions that are, or full list of questions which are answered by, which are asked by Parikshit Maharaj?
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty
This
much.
is
Okay.
pretty much. He does ask later as well, because for example, at one point, Sukadev Goswami said something like, "Yes, one can do. When one does sinful activities, you can do prayaschit, and that will negate these sinful activities." Then Parikshit Maharaj, he said, "Well, what is the point of that? Because you do sin, you do prayaschit, you do sin, you do prayaschit. What's the benefit?" So he he does ask questions throughout the Bhagavatam, where he is, got a doubt. He'll ask a question. So other than these questions, there are more questions.
There are
Yes.
more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's
You must have
quite.
read Bhagavatam a lot of times, Prabhuji.
I have about 4 or 5 times. Yeah.
You have this knowledge.
No,
Yeah,
I don't
great.
have much knowledge though. Even then, we scratch the surface. Hardly, because there's so much knowledge in there. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
thank you. Thank you for your
Yeah.
interest. Very
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Uh, I think the English literature is very high.
You mean the language?
Yes.
Yeah, these days it isn't easy to follow. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Sometimes when you're reading, I'm listening, but I can't follow everything.
Because this is philosophy. Yeah, I know what you mean. Philosophy can be heavy.
Sometimes it's better to listen, but if it goes in the head, it's much better. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
true.
you.
Thank
you
you
very much.
so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay, Srimad Bhagavad Purana ki jai.